Solving three-step equations with like terms notes. So we have done one-step equations and two-step equations. Today we start three-step equations. And there are actually three different types of three-step equations, so we'll do one each day over the next few days. So our rule still applies. Remember that the order of operations is done in reverse. Okay. Now, what makes these interesting is that you'll see here there are two terms with x's in them. And if you look at the other problems, you'll see that's the way it is on the entire sheet. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is to combine like terms. Okay? And like terms are any terms that have exactly the same letter as a part of them. So in this equation, we have a 7x and a 4x. Our first step is going to be to combine those into one term. So 7x and 4x is 11x. I leave everything else the same. Once we've combined those like terms, now we have a two-step equation. And remember, with two-step equations, we get rid of the addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to get rid of the plus 10 by subtracting 10 from both sides. 142 minus 10 is 132. And then my last step will be to divide both sides by 11. That cancels those out. And I'll do 132 divided by 11, which is 12. Now, these do allow you to check your answers as well. If you plug in the 12 into either equation, it might be the easiest to plug it into this one. So it'd be 142 equals 11 times 12 plus 10. 11 times 12 is 132. And then if I add 10 to that, I get 142, and I know I'm correct. For example 2, again, I have two terms with x, so I'm going to add those together first. So I'll get 1 plus 6x equals 43. And now we get rid of addition or subtraction first. This 1 is considered a plus 1 because there's nothing in front of it. So to get rid of plus 1, I would subtract 1. 43 minus 1 is 42. Now I would divide both sides by 6. I get x equals 7. Again, you can check your work if you want. You can always know that you're correct. For our third example, you'll notice that the two terms with x in them are not right next to each other. And that's okay. We're still going to add those two like terms together first. But realize that this 7x is actually negative 7x. Okay? The sign always goes with the next number. So this subtraction sign or negative sign goes with the 7x. So I'm going to add 2x and negative 7x, which is negative 5x. Everything else I just write down. Now it's a two-step equation, so I'll subtract 7 from both sides. I get negative 5x equals 20. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. I get negative 4. For this example, you'll notice there isn't a number in front of this x, which means you can assume it's a 1. So my two like terms are 3x and negative 1x. When I combine those together, I get 2x. Now it's just a two-step equation. This 9 is positive, so I'll subtract 9 from both sides. I get 2x is 22. Then I divide both sides by 2. I get x is 11. So the third step we're adding to these problems is to combine like terms. Then it simply becomes a two-step equation. Again, here the x's are separated. That's okay. I'm going to combine the negative 7x and the negative 4x. Putting those two together, I get negative 11x. And I just write down the other two. Now I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I get negative 11x. 4 minus 4 is 0. Just leave the 0, it's no big deal. Now I'd have to divide both sides by negative 11. And 0 divided by any number, doesn't matter what it is always 0. So it is possible to get 0 as an answer to these equations. And that just means when I plug 0 in, it works in the equation. Here's another instance. My two like terms are negative 6x and negative 7x. So I put those two together, that's negative 13x. And again, we just write down the other terms that we haven't touched yet. Now it's a two-step equation. Get rid of minus 10 first by adding 10 to both sides. So I get negative 78 equals negative 13x. Divide both sides by negative 13. And don't be afraid to use your calculator on these. The answer would be positive 6. And realize it's positive 6 because the negative divided by a negative is positive. Here's the last problem of our notes. My two like terms are separated. That's okay. I'm still going to put them together. Negative 7x and 5x is negative 2x. I leave the negative 6 in the equation, and I leave the negative 2 in the equation. Now it's a two-step problem where I'm going to add 6 first to both sides. I get negative 2x is 4. Then I'm going to divide by negative 2. I get x is negative 2. So really the new thing today is your first step is going to be to combine like terms. Then the problem becomes a two-step equation problem like we learned before, and you just follow our two-step rules.